Blessings. Welcome to Just Being Honest. I am Rolanda Wilkins, and Brother Barry is not here. He's getting some respite on the East Coast. I don't know how you get any kind of respite on the East Coast, especially in New York. But today we have the blessing and the honor to be co-hosting with me is Brother Jermaine Morris.
Yes.
Bam. I don't know where I got that Morris in. So I think it was Jimmy.
Son of a Morris. So, yeah.
Okay. Son of a Morris. I like that. How you doing, Jermaine?
I am great today.
Good.
I appreciate being here.
Give us a little background on you, though. Tell us about yourself a little bit, because most people on the orders may not know you. I don't know how that's possible, but
I really play the cuts. So like I'm always I'm Scottie Pippen. I'm Tim Duncan.
Okay.
Like I quietly get 25 and 15. Like so a lot of people will see me at functions or like I know that dude's face. I joke. I say when I'm gone, I'm gonna be like Forrest Gump. Like there's a whole bunch of pictures, like of major events, like around famous people, and if you look real close, I'm in the background, like I'm in the corner.
I like that.
Like that's me holding a drink. That's me in the chair. I'm like I have one of those lives. But born and raised here in Sacramento, is where East Sacramento, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days. And I say, I joke all the time, but I say all I do is run my mouth for a living. So communication in some form or fashion, DJ, broadcasting, speaking, the radio show, podcast, speaking, corporate events, community events, all I do is run my mouth. So they told me in high school, figure out something you're good at and you figure out a way to get paid for it. So I found out I was good at talking. So that's pretty much all I did.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to this spirited conversation.
Yes.
A lot of stuff going on in the world. Like every day, a lot of stuff going on in the world. But what I want to ask you about was I sent you a few articles.
Yes.
And before we get into the articles, I just got to ask you about the talk about When They See Us.
Okay.
And them not being nominated for any Globes or, I'm going to give you an award in a minute, any Globes or Golden Globes or Emmys or whatever. They were kind of snobbed. What is your thoughts on that?
Don't really hit me crazy. Like, for something like that, it's, from what I've seen, so first off, I'm horrible about that because I don't stay up on what's the popular TV shows or movies like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't. So when I see people who win, I don't ever really know if they're supposed to win because I don't watch TV or movies like that.
I get that.
So for somebody to be snobbed or for somebody not to be awarded for something, it don't really faze me. I think that when you make art like that, when you make something with a message, when you make something to tell a story, you look at how many people got a chance to see it. If people were impacted by it, the information that was spread, did you achieve your goal? Was the message that you tried to put out, received that way? And if that happens, then at that point, then that's it. If you don't get an award for it, outside of trying to up your paycheck for your next film or movie,
Mm-hmm.
it does. I don't know. Do you care? I don't know. Maybe I'm a little weird like that.
No. But how do you feel hearing all of these black people? Because sometimes it feels like we could be a little schizophrenic. One minute be like, we want our own stuff. And then when people don't recognize your stuff, then we feel like, let's boycott or that's cold-blooded. Or are we really doing this because we want to tell our story? Or are we doing this because we want to be accepted by the community at large?
Well, first off, it feels good to be awarded anything.
Okay.
So as much as people want to act and talk like, it's irrelevant, it's good when people acknowledge your work, especially if it's something that you put a lot into. But that's what I look at from the creator sides, like from the actors, the directors, whatever. But if you're talking about just us as a people, like when our stories don't seem to be acknowledged or don't really seem like they ain't really messing with us like that, should they? Just keep it all the way a buck. If this was a story about 5 Asian kids and the story played itself out the same, would we be upset that the Joy Luck Club didn't get a Golden Globe?
Oh, that's a good ass question.
You know what I'm saying? Probably not. Because it's not our story.
Yeah.
So if the people who are doing the voting and the people who are the ones who are gauging all that, if they're like, it didn't hit us like it hit y'all, all right, well then so be it. That's what we got the Image Awards for and the NAACP Awards, because that's our story. That's our group. Now, if we shunned if they walked away without an NAACP Award or Image Award, then I look at it a little sideways. But it don't faze me when other groups don't care about our stories like that.
Wow, you just summed that up beautifully. Honestly, I mean, just because I talked to somebody this morning, it was like, I am so sick of black folks talking about they didn't do this, they didn't get the nod. And even though it was a really good movie, I mean, really good it was like a series with so many episodes. But I also think that is so true. I think it comes right back to how we see ourselves and what we value.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you said that, that just made so much sense. So going from that to Miss Universe.
Yeah.
So I guess Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, Miss...
I think it's America.
Miss America,
and Miss Universe.
And now Miss Universe. What's your thoughts on it? I'm thinking like, I mean, is that... Because some people say representation matters, but I personally don't believe that, but that's just...
Okay, so I think it does, but I think it's weighted.
Okay, talk to me about that.
So I think representation does matter. Seeing yourself in something, it does create the idea. It does kind of make it real to you, like especially if you're a child.
Right.
You know, so I get that. Seeing Barack as president does help little kids because when you're told your whole life you could be president, but then you look at the roster. And you're like, ain't no black people ever been president, so how can that be me? But when you see the one, you're like, he did it, I can do it. So I get representation does matter to a degree.
Yeah.
It's not the end all be all, but it's a factor.
It's like having Clarence Thomas. Does that make little black kids think one day they could be Supreme Court judge?
We don't even talk about Clarence Thomas though. Keep it all.
But we see him, the representation.
But I'm saying we don't talk about it. When was the last time you was in a conversation with some kids talking about Clarence Thomas?
Well, I do have some conservative kids.
But I'm saying, in
general,
I'm messing we don't even talk about Clarence Thomas.
We don't. So we act like the brother don't even exist.
Yeah, so we can't even act like can't use him as a representation. We act like he ain't there.
We do. That's true.
But for young girls, I get it. Like if every time you look up, you see some blonde hair, blue eyed Becky from Missouri is told that this is Miss Universe, that this is Miss America, that this is Teen USA, whatever it is, that every bracket, how women are gauged, this is what the standard of beauty is.
Right.
So it makes you think, I need to have blonde hair. It makes you think, I need to have blue eyes. This is what pretty is. Because if melanin deficient, blonde hair, blue eyes, this look is what's considered Miss America, Miss Universe, Miss everything. And you are chocolate complexion with curly hair and brown eyes. Like you were on the opposite side of the spectrum. Well, if this is the prettiest girl of Miss USA and the prettiest in USA and the prettiest in America and the prettiest in universe, and I'm the opposite end of the spectrum, I can see how that could do something to you. I mean, not all, I can see how that could be a factor in how you. So when you look, and since it looked like Kelly Rowland is now Miss Universe, you like, oh, okay. Like I can see how that could do something for you. But the only thing that hits me with is that we can't then tell all our young girls to double down on 2019 because Teen USA, USA, America, and Universe are black and say, see, this is the standard of beauty. All y'all recognize this is really what it is. And then next year is 4 Beckys lined up and then try to convince them that they shouldn't buy into this, that this ain't important, that this ain't real. So we gonna rock with it or we not. Like we gonna give it a certain amount of weight or we ain't. So that's why I say representation to a degree.
Okay, I'll take that to a degree.
To a degree.
I only feel like this, and I get what you're saying. I think black really isn't that inclusive.
Okay.
So for me, when I seen the 3 black women, if that's what they call themselves, because one of them is clearly mixed race, and I don't know how we just make them black when they're mixed race people. So we don't want to deny whatever.
You know the one drop rule. So.
Well, I don't believe in the one drop rule.
No, I'm saying that's where that come from. Though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So I don't do that because I don't want to leave any part of anybody out.
Okay.
Because sometimes when it's a benefit, then people pull it out. But when it ain't a benefit, then you won't be. Yeah. As here is a black woman who know her African origins. She's a Xhosa. Got to get that click in. I hate when I have to do the click because I'm horrible at the click. So here we have her, and then she has short hair. And it is what a lot of our hair look like, short hair. And she's very proud. I mean, even when she got up to do that last question, it was her Miss Puerto Rico, who was blonde hair and blue eyed, and we know a lot of Puerto Ricans could come blacker than me and you at this table.
Yeah.
And then Miss Mexico, and she didn't look like, you know, Rosa that we see or whatever. She looked totally like, she looked like they're from Spain. They two looking Spaniards is what they look like. And here when she gave her answer, it had such power and fire on it, and it made so much sense.
Okay, so I didn't see the answer.
Oh, it was
I just saw
awesome.
the picture of who won. So I didn't
It was
watch
awesome.
I didn't watch the
So
awards.
even in that, like next, they gave like the cliche answers, but she gave something that was so, her voice was very powerful, but very affirming. Like it was just beautiful. And so I feel like to me, in that representation, it mattered.
Okay.
Because she looked like her original self. She is her original self. She speak Xhosa with the, can you do the click? Xhosa, trying to get the click. That's very different than just being an American black person who claim they're mixed with everything, and you got to have hair weave. And I'm gonna tell you the second time that stood out, the first time that stood out for me when I started to understand that more, when Lupita gave her speech at the NAACP luncheon that they do, the Black Women's Luncheon.
Okay.
And there Lupita was, she had just won her Oscar for, maybe she won a Golden Globe, maybe she won an Oscar already, for 12 Years a Slave. And here it is, dark-skinned black woman, short hair, standing up there basically talking about her journey. And she referenced Alec, the model, of being someone who put the light on for her. And when they scanned the audience, you seen nothing but a bunch of African-American women, which I'm one, looking other than themselves, dressed up in what we thought glamour was, that the way white people dressed up, hair, that's all you seen out there. And here this African woman sitting up here in her original form, talking to them. And I don't see, if representation matter, I don't see us understanding that part. Like, how can you see someone in their original state and not question your original state?
I think that did happen, because then you started seeing the Alicia Keys, I'm not wearing no makeup. Sanaa Lathan, I'm cutting my hair off. All these people who started to make all these statements about how, now I don't know if it's directly tied to Lupita, but I do see that there's a correlation in timeline.
I get
you
that.
started seeing that there was more sisters who were like, kind of edging off of what they
I
did.
see that with Viola Davis. I think
all
had a
like I said,
direct
all same,
effect
like I
on
said, all
Viola
same
Davis.
timeline.
I agree.
So I don't know if it.
And I'm not disrespecting the three women who won. I'm just saying there's something very different. That's like somebody both being overweight. One person had the surgery and the other person did the workout.
Yeah.
Y'all both ain't on the same platform. Y'all both lost weight. I get it.
It ain't the same.
But it ain't the same when somebody's sweating and going through it every day, having to get up and watch your diet and run and then somebody had a surgery. They're like, I lost all this weight. It was so.
I lost 92 pounds.
Yeah. I just think
doctor.
it's a little different. I just think it's a little different. I think that's something when I'm with girls in class, I do watch them struggle with self-image.
Okay.
And I get to hear people talk about what they think is beautiful, just so oppressive. And I think sometimes having these other groups, even though the sisters in South Africa, I just think it's just a little bit different, than just us like, I'm Miss America, but I got this long ass weave going down my back. Nothing wrong with it. Wear your weave. Now you say you don't wear your weave.
But I think South Africa is a very good place, like a point to acknowledge, because Trevor Noah, the guy who does the Daily
he's
Show.
colored though, but go ahead.
Yeah, but that's my point. So, because I remember something he was saying, like in South Africa, because of apartheid, that there's a very specific distinction. That there's black people with Kafirs, there's white folks, they call them something else, and then mixed are considered colored. So if you're mixed, you're not black.
Or the perception of being mixed.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but they don't.
Because you will be considered colored depending on where you are in South Africa.
Probably.
Because you're lighter, but you ain't mixed like that. Your mama ain't black and your daddy ain't white. Or
yeah,
Indian
my mama
or,
dark skin from Fresno, my father from Alabama.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, like,
because here's the thing: what I do love about South Africa is that that's up front. In America, we got that same system. We just it's unspoken rule. You turn on black television, you're not gonna see a dark skinned woman being a love interest with some respect. It's always we definitely got colorism.
Okay. Not even sorry, but where my brain jump around, so you got to follow.
I'm sorry.
You got to follow me.
Go ahead.
No, because that plays into something. I watched you guys on Sundays sitting with sisters.
Oh God, okay.
And so you guys were talking about the sitcom husbands, which one y'all will want.
Oh God,
and
Dana, you on here? No, go ahead.
But something that stood, and I always joke and say like the universe lines things up when I pitch it, because I watched that, and just by some weird twist of fate, I saw this video clip, and it addressed Carl and his wife. Winslow's.
Yeah.
Like
Harriet.
Yes, but it was like 30 years later. So it's like recent. They just did this video recently.
Oh.
And so they were sitting there and they were talking about, you know, what would
I think I've seen that.
What would Carl and Harriet be like now? They said they still be in love and this, that, whatever. And I don't want to mess up the sister's name, her actual name. Joe something. What's
you talking about? What show we talking about?
Harriet, but what's her name?
I can't remember her real name. I
But you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so
actress,
so she was saying that how when she got her husband, she said, because he was a little heavier, she said, I don't want no fat jokes in the script. I don't want no kind of chubby comments, no none of that. And they were talking about what it was like then. They said, here we are, two chocolate folks in love. Like, and that never even dawned on me watching the show. Like, it didn't, their complexion never played a part in me thinking about.
Like a black family.
Yeah. And all the children are.
Yeah, right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so representation, I think it happens subtly.
I get that.
Like, sometimes it's held up and it's like, look at this. And sometimes it's just there. Like, and it's just, you know, and so, because I'm sure there's a bunch of people, I don't ever remember the conversation about their complexion ever coming up. All the years watching the show, and even to this day, until they mentioned it in that I just watched that thing yesterday, it never once crossed my mind. So I think subtle representation.
I agree. So when you look at them as opposed to the Cosbys,
okay,
I don't know. They just felt realer to me for some reason. They just like they kind of all look like they could really be in the same family.
Yeah.
I think the Cosbys did a lot of stretching. Like, I could see if Claire looked like his real wife, Camille, and then they had all these different looking kids, that's a little different. But I feel like it just felt real to me. Well, the Cosbys did not feel real because none of them had any issues. I know so many kids who grew up in so-called affluence privilege, and they had more issues than the people that was in the ghetto. Yeah. I mean, you know, so to speak.
But I think that was, he designed it that way. Because I remember the issue when Lisa Bonet had left the show and she had got pregnant. She was with Lenny Kravitz.
Talking about that.
And so Debbie Allen was trying to pitch the story of that Denise got pregnant at college and that she was going to come back home.
No.
And Bill was like, no, Denise Huxtable does not get pregnant. Not Lisa Bonet. He said Denise Huxtable does not get like there was a certain, I think in his mind, and from what some of the stuff that I saw, that was that it wasn't necessarily about to be about reality, that the show was about possibility, and so it wasn't supposed to be rooted in if this is anybody's real day-to-day life. There's enough reality out there. But I'm saying, but that's why when you say I don't see real life situations, real life scenarios, it wasn't designed to be.
So do you think that reflected in the real Bill Cosby doing all of these things that Cliff would never do?
Maybe, but I remember there's people,
Payne. You're talking about the guy from Seven Heaven. He was molesting all those kids. Well, he was a minister.
Yeah,
I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about him outside of his crime, so I can't think of any context. But Payne, he was Cole on Martin.
Cole. I'm
Payne.
talking about Cole Payne. Okay,
Cole
Payne. Yeah.
And so he talked about, because he used to be Cockroach.
Yeah, they gave him Cockroach.
He was Cockroach on the Cosby Show. Mm-hmm. The reason why he was off the show is because he had grown his hair out. His hair was getting long, had a shag. Bill Cosby told him to cut it. He said, if you want to be on the show, like there's a certain look that you're going to have. He was like, I'm not cutting my hair off. So they didn't even give him an exit. They just, you off the show. And Bill fired him. Like, that's why Cockroach didn't follow Theo to college.
Well, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, like, that's why just one day he was there, and then he was gone. Like, it was real. Bill kept it real in the cuts. Like, keep it real in pocket.
Okay, I get that. I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it looked like him and Claire never had one argument. I know people been married for years and they
had a joking argument. Because remember, he used to have the little girl he used to talk about. She used to come and put him in a headlock, jump on the bed. But when you talk about real, like, the only time I ever saw it look like it looked remotely like getting serious, it was Claire. Because remember, Vanessa was their problem child. Yeah. So when the other ones left,
she was going to see the rave.
Yeah, she was the one that was drunk with her friends. She was the one that was running.
Yeah.
And there was one episode though, Felicia Rashad looked like she really was going to put hands on her.
She's serious.
When she was like,
she felt real. I love Felicia Rashad,
yeah.
So she felt real, very classy. But I also know even in classy homes, there are disagreements. I remember when I moved to a section of Elk Grove that was very affluent at the time. It's okay now. And my block, it's like the perfect family, 2-car garage, blah, blah, blah. But at night, you would hear people getting their ass whooped. Like, I'm dead serious. You'd be like, oh my God, is that the neighbors? You know.
For help?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think there's nothing wrong with showing these positive images, but I also felt like you got to keep it. He just put a drop of reality in there. Okay. Because in his real life, his daughter was a drug addict. Yeah. And did you know that? Was on crack for years.
I knew this issue with almost all the children. Right?
Yeah. But I just felt like, well, damn, Bill. Like, he could have tackled it a little bit. Maybe he could have tackled some of the issues. You don't have to be as deep. But I just feel like sometimes with some of us, I try not to say all, there's this thing where we're such extremists.
Yeah, well, so
we're either extremely being ridiculously to the 1,000-degree crazy as hell, or we're being like super more perfect than an angel.
Yeah, which is why I know we talked about a few things today, but the one when I was listening to you guys' show, the one that stood out to me was Philip Banks, with Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil, we didn't even bring up Uncle Phil. Okay,
Uncle Phil, like I know I got some Cliff Huxtable ways. I got some James Evan ways.
I think I'll do extremism too. Go ahead.
But I think I'm probably in my real life closest to Uncle Phil.
I get that. I forgot about Uncle Phil.
Like Uncle Phil on his job when he was in the courtroom, he was a beast. Like when he was a lawyer standing before judges, when the boys got,
I seen him get upset.
Yeah, when the boys went to jail and he was all up on that in that cop's behind. When the kids, the pool shark, they thought he was sweet, he got on that pool cue and won all the money back, ran the table. But then he got home and them kids was afraid of him because when he was sort of Hufflepuff, and it was like.
So he had some James in him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Uncle Phil was probably the most balanced.
I agree. I
could probably relate to.
I think Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil get glossed over.
I'm sorry.
Everybody, we jumped the cliff, we jumped to James Evans.
That's true. I think we were doing extremisms.
I think so. Uncle Phil's probably the most middle of the road.
I agree. Even though Ed Viv kept changing, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. So talking about family, what do you think about the article about mothers and their sons, how mothers ruin their sons before they get to the street? I'm paraphrasing this article, but it got a lot of comments on the Sacramento Sister Circle. A lot of black women were extremely upset.
Okay, so let's preface this first.
Okay.
I'm addressing the article.
Okay. So y'all don't be sending my boy no.
Nobody be waiting for me in the parking lot. They see me on. I used to like you, but then I get out there. They throwing shoes at me. They see me at a function. Addressing the article, and I'm sure there'll probably be a link up to it or something, so people can read it for themselves and see if they rock with it or not.
Okay.
The article addressing do moms ruin their boys? Because what I was getting was their sons, not necessarily their daughters, but ruining their sons before the world has a chance to. So to answer the question, yes. So, period at the end of the sentence to answer the first question.
Okay.
Are there mothers that ruin their sons before the world has a chance to? Yes.
Okay.
Are there fathers who ruin their sons? Yes. Are there mothers that do not ruin their sons? Yes. Are there fathers that do not ruin their sons? Yes. So to answer the first question, are there mothers that ruin their sons before the world has a chance to? Yes.
I get that.
So we could slide all those other folks off the table.
Okay.
We're not addressing the fathers that do, not addressing the mothers that don't, the fathers that don't, the two-parent households that don't. We can slide all that over.
Right on.
Because I know sometimes we like to keep dipping.
Yeah.
Instead and get off task and get off subject. So we're only talking about the mothers that do.
Okay.
If it does not apply to you, listen to this for strictly entertainment value. Ain't nobody talk about you or your household.
But I don't know, but if the shoe fits, lace it
up.
I
said if it don't apply to you.
Yeah, then don't lace it up.
Yeah.
Just observe.
Yes, because you got to do that sometimes. But what about, we ain't talking about them. And we've already put them people off the table.
I find that people who are guilty of that do that.
See, I
don't
even subscribe to that. There's an old phrase, was it a hit dog hollers?
Yeah.
I've always hated that phrase, and it never made sense to me. Because, like, we'll sit there and say something like, well, if it didn't apply to you, you wouldn't respond. That's not true. Like, if I was sitting somewhere and they were saying, all black women are this, and this. Okay, me saying something doesn't mean that statement applies to me. Me saying something
is
me saying, no, that's wrong. Or all black men, and I'm sitting there.
Yeah, I never say all.
No, but I'm saying the phrase. Like when there are people like hit dog hollers, like if you say something, it must mean you must be linked to that. Sometimes you just can't let just misinformation ride.
I get that.
So sometimes you want to speak up because you want to make sure that it's everybody clear.
I get that, but because I want to hear what you have to say. But I also know sometimes people just jump up to things because it do be their truth.
Yes.
And so that's what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll hear women say, that's not true. And you know, I don't, there's a saying, black women love their sons and raise their daughters. People will debate me on that forever, but I watch your interaction with your daughter.
Yeah.
I watch I watch how you baby your son.
Yeah.
And you want to tell me that that's not true and you do it?
Yeah, but I think with that, the inverse is also with fathers.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the mother.
No, but I'm saying it's true because when you flip it, the way that men raise up their little girls is different than the way they raise up their little boys.
That's true.
They're more so protective coddling of their daughters, and then their sons is because with your same sex it's almost peerish.
I get that.
So you know it's a different energy. But back to the article, I think that there are some women who are okay. So I'm around young men all the time, and one thing we do, every year we have the Manhood Mentoring Conference, and so we have one coming up this January 25th is a Saturday here in Sacramento at the Simmons Community Center, and so what we do is every year it's male only. So even if it's a single mother situation, drop your son off. You can come pick him up when it's done.
Why she can't come?
Because but I'm saying because we get that every year.
Right.
I can't just see what's going on.
That's like we want to go to the Million Man March. Like that's they stuff.
I just want to hear. Can I just? When we be like the door be closing slowly. I just want to. Can we? Hey. Like just. And so because when you introduce women, the energy changes.
I agree.
But what we get is every year, because we have discussions and it's not about these boys. We have great speakers, and it's not about them just sitting and listening. Right. But we give them a chance to talk. And what we get is that there's like little boys, some of them got issues with their mamas and the way their mamas is raising them. And some of their mamas' choices. But because mama's a single parent, because mama's the one paying the bills, mama's the one they see every day, mama's the one who's catching the brunt of everything going on, they don't discuss those issues with her. So, because here's reality.
That makes sense.
If your mom is the one that when you get hurt, you calling her, when something good, you calling her, when there's a situation, you calling her, when everything, like the weight of everything going on with you is on her shoulders and hers alone, are you really bringing that to her?
Right.
Like, are you, no. You just go ahead and you just swallow that and then you go out into the world. And so there's a lot of them that don't have a space. And this is where it falls on brothers in the community if it's not their dad. Because some of them it's not deadbeat dads. Some daddies have passed away.
Right.
You know, some daddies have illnesses. You know, that like a single mother is not always because the dude ain't ish.
I get that.
But I mean, just for the narrative that's always out there for mothers raising her kids on her own, it's not always because daddy is just no good. So there are some young men out there, father done passed away, car accident or something. Father has a debilitating illness. I remember one young boy, his daddy he had lost the battle of cancer. And so for years he had been sick and was down and there's just a lot of stuff that goes on. But when it comes to some way that some of the mothers were raising some of these sons, some of them were trying to mold their future or their missed out husband instead of the man. Some of them raise the image of what they think a man is as opposed to what he's actually working with. I think that there's a difference when all men, we're not all the same. We're not all wired the same. But there are some fundamental things. Like I don't teach women. I don't teach young girls. Because I know in those developmental years, like there's some stuff that y'all go through that you need a woman present for. Some stuff is universal. If I'm teaching math or something like that, don't really matter. But we teaching like development stuff, whatever. That ain't for me. But what I have seen at times is that there's some women's belief systems are not conducive to raising a healthy young man, and they're there. Right. Like let's not act like they don't exist. So I don't know what percentage that article was speaking to. I don't know if they were trying to say most, or if they were trying to say a lot, or half, or
they could have been telling somebody's story.
They could have been talking about 2%.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They could have been talking about the curve of the margin of error. But let's not act like they don't exist. Let's not act like there are not some crappy moms out there, some crappy dads out there. Let's not talk about this. There's this misnomer too that if you're making some questionable parenting decisions, that you have to be single. There are joint efforts of parenting issues.
Real talk.
Both of you can be home and still have some challenges. Like I think we default to believing that it's always a single parent issue when we're addressing the stuff of a parent.
That's so true.
There are married people who the daddy is beating the kids. They're together. Like it's not like, oh, it was a single dad and he was under pressure. There's moms out there who are beating kids. And I don't mean beating like discipline. I mean like, sitting on the Popeyes for that 2-piece and that dirty rice. I'm talking about like on that extra.
Yeah.
And both parents are in the household. So there's some parenting challenges that don't automatically default to single parent. But to that article, I think it was addressing the extremes. I think that it was talking about the margins. But there's some folks with some parenting struggles, and we know them. There's a curve for everything.
So let me ask you this: do you believe that there are gender roles? And what I mean by that, or one of the ways, because one minute we're talking about there should be no gender roles, but then we'll be supporting people becoming a gender and doing a role that they think a gender has. That's always so confusing.
So so I subscribe to gender roles.
Okay.
So that's me. If you
don't,
then I would say just being consistent, because what I hear sometimes is that, oh no, it's fluid. It's fluid. There's no gender role. A man can do this, woman can do this. Then you should never feel like you a boss for doing something that is quote unquote not out of your role. If going to work and paying all the bills is not gender specific, because you don't hear men say that. Like the men men who paid the bills and all that, they didn't walk around with their chest out, looking for the pat on the back for paying the rent. That was your job. You know what I'm saying?
That's real talk.
So if you're going to say, I'm the one, I pay all the bills, I do. No, if you don't believe in gender roles, then that ain't something to stick your chest out about. You just do it.
Right on.
You know what I'm saying? So now if you do believe in them, and you're like, this is, like for me, like I was raised up in, like the mentality that I was with is like, don't get married unless you can support you and your wife without her working.
I was raised. Go ahead.
Like, and don't have kids unless you can support you and your kids without your wife working. Like, if you are not in that position, then you ain't got no business out here doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because you are already, you ain't straight, and you got holes in the boat, and you telling people to get in.
Whoa. All right.
So fundamentally, that's my belief. Now I know there's women out there who say that I could carry my own boat. You got your little rowboat, I got a yacht. I get that, but the way that I work, it don't mean I wouldn't want a woman with a job. It just means that I need to be in a position to take care of her if she does not have one.
I get that.
Like I wouldn't get into a situation to where me making it month to month is contingent on both of us. Because if something ever happens to her, if I'm not in a position to carry the both of us, then we both drown. So my mentality is that I can carry both of us, and what she brings in gets us, we move from the rowboat to the sailboat. We move from the sailboat to the yacht. But if something happens on her end, we're not alone in the water. We may have to downsize the ship, but we still in a boat.
I get
like
that.
That's, you know what I'm saying?
I get that.
That's how that's why I look at gender roles that way. And I don't treat men and women the same. There's things that I would do for women that I wouldn't do for a man. If we walking down the street, a dog turn the corner, growling, showing teeth, I'll put her behind me. I ain't doing that for a dude. Like if I turn the corner and I'm staring at Cujo, sorry Barry, but I'm telling you, look, we both break it and then we'll meet up around the corner and I'll see you when I see you. Like
that's real talk though.
So I'm saying, I treat men and women differently. I do believe in gender roles.
So do you ever feel like in this climate, and now, that there has been like a concerted effort to erase the you that you are?
I think because of the way that I present information can be entertaining is the reason why it takes some of the sting off. But if my delivery was a little bit differently, they'd be ready to put me in the toxic masculinity pile.
But what you just said would be considered toxic masculinity.
That's what I'm saying. I think personally, like my delivery, folks can be like, okay, he kind of funny. Like it's all right. I could deal with him.
Right.
But if my delivery was more brash, saying that this is a man's role, woman's role, this, that, then they would be ready to throw me away too.
I ain't disagreeing with that, but I just feel like, and if y'all talk black to us on here, I see Brother Michael on here, peace Khadijah, peace Dana, a lot of people on here, Sequestra. I'm only asking that because it seems like now if a man like yourself say that, no matter how you say it,
yeah,
some people be like, that's not fair. That's, women are independent and women are, we started and all that. But then if a man wants to be a woman, we will support you wholeheartedly in supporting the role that a man who wants to be a woman think that women do.
Yeah. So
that's what I mean. That's it seems a little crazy to me.
So let's talk, because we're really talking about the American system.
Yes, we are.
It doesn't mean that there's not trans across globally and but speaking of here. So this country is rooted in capitalism, which is a competitive relationship.
Oh. Okay.
So everything in America is based upon competition.
Okay.
So if you're running a foot race to try to get your position, you do things to try to gain advantages. So if you are of heterosexual women and you've been getting beaten this foot race by heterosexual men, it behooves you to trip them up a little bit. So the female struggle has gained ground with the hindrance of alpha males. You know what I'm saying? So LBGT has secondary helped out women trying to take some of the steam out of heterosexual males' sails.
Got you. Okay.
So it's in a heterosexual woman's best interest, big picture, maybe not trying to find a mate or a man for her daughter, but in the movement, this effeminized men, the shift trend from male labeling toxic masculinity, all that stuff is taking out the wind from the heterosexual male sails that has been ahead of them. So they're gaining ground with this movement.
You talking about women are?
Women are. Now,
I get you. I'm listening to you.
So not by color, but by gender.
No, I agree.
And
but
so,
okay, go ahead.
And so there are some benefits because white women in America have been making up some ground with this.
They made up ground with black people. But
they did, but
affirmative action.
But they're using us too. They whatever they can use to keep moving this forward.
I agree.
So there's a reason why for some women to be on board. Now for black women, I don't understand it.
What do you mean? Why would you say
okay, so where we are in this foot race, we need everybody on the same team. We need everybody with the relay race. We need everybody running strong laps. Like we are not in a position to have nobody cramping up. We can't have nobody needing to go get some Gatorade or having their shoelaces not tied. We need everybody running strong. Like we need our brothers, our sisters, gay, straight. Everybody need to be strong running their leg of the race. And taking wind out the sails of, like right now, black men in America, y'all
doing great.
Sarcasm duly noted. And we are not in a position we don't need no more trip ups. You remember in high school, not the track team, but in gym.
Okay.
Where they would have the track like season where you got to relay race and they put the 4-man team, 4 people team. You end up 4 folks in a group and there's that one person you like, well, let's make him go first. Yep. Because if he's so slow, we put the fast guys in the back and we can make up the difference.
Right.
But where we at now, we got like one fast runner. Like our 4-man teams out there is not strong.
Oh Lord.
Like, we don't need to be doing nothing. That needs to be slowing this race. We are the poor. Like when our group up next, Black American males. Yeah. You just see the whole track team just like we don't need.
I agree with you.
We don't need nothing that's messing up this groove.
I agree. I just feel like we need to maybe have some real conversations on why we are where we are. Because I feel like one of the things I always recognize is it feels like we never do any debriefing.
Okay.
Like we just kind of be like, we all disrespect each other and they're like, all right, we got to get this together, let's go. And then it happens again. Then we break down again because we never try to back up and have a conversation like, what happened?
Yeah.
how can we make sure that that doesn't happen again, or maybe we can have a different plan, or something like that. I just feel like we never plan anything, so we always do this thing where, man is the head, like, which to me is probably religion, and then it's like, that's great, but if man ain't doing the things he's supposed to be, how the hell does he get to be the head?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We've never had those kind of discussions.
So stick with that analogy right there, and that's what I was brought up, that so that the man is the head, the children are the arms and legs, or the appendages, the extensions of, but the woman is the body. And that's the base, and that's the source of all the vital organs. That's the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys. That's what keeps everything together, and that's the fulcrum, the focal point. So I still subscribe to that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not questioning your how you feel about it.
But I mean,
I was just taught that man and woman, the twin halves, are the same whole. So that's what and that works better for me. I'm not a head, this, that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a balancer. Because sometimes you can have men that may appear to be a little softer, and sometimes women are a little harder. When they come together, it makes for a perfect balance. Or I didn't mean to use that analogy like that, but sometimes that's how it rolls. Or sometimes you may have women having strengths in certain areas where men don't, but then men have strengths in certain areas that we don't. No, I'm into the balance.
Well, I agree with you. So the way that I've always looked at it would pertain whenever my friends get married, and I've probably given this speech at a half dozen weddings. Okay. But sidebar, if I'm ever at your wedding and I'm giving the toast speech, you do not want to follow me. I'm killing the game. Drop mic. I'm down. All right. Okay. I'll be upstaging the bride and groom. Okay. And so one of the analogies I always use is that when it pertains to that relationship, that it's a lock and key. And so if you take a lock and you take a key, they don't look anything alike. But the grooves on a key and the tumblers in a lock sync up perfectly. So if you actually looked at it where the ridges where it goes up and down, that's what I think you're talking about. Some areas high, some areas low. And when you combine them with the tumblers in the lock, they sync up perfectly. Right on. So where you're high, they're low. Where they're low, you're high. And that makes a perfect match that way.
Right on.
So I agree with you in the sense of the two halves of the same whole. Or two holes of the same half.
Yeah, two halves of the same hole, but they come together.
That's I believe in that. So I don't necessarily compartmentalize it in the sense of the actual relationship. Just when I visualize it.
I just don't. I don't know. I get your now. See, whatever works for you works for you. I think that's great. But I just feel like what I've seen historically is that women have always been the floor and men have always been the ceiling. And I've seen it over and over again, and particularly in religious settings.
Okay.
And so that's a problem. And I think sometimes when you don't it's like if you don't take care of your floor, at some point it gets worn and it breaks away. And I think sometimes for some black women, I don't use words like some, that's what you see happening. You see black women be like, I don't want to deal with that. Yeah. I don't want to do that. And sometimes you hear men being like, I don't want to deal with that shit. Like, I just don't want to do that. But I feel like if we don't never get a chance to debrief, we can't even recognize that in this relationship, I know I was taught this way, but in this relationship, that doesn't work. Because this person don't even think like that.
Well, I think a lot of times that we don't actually have conversations not only with the other person, but with ourselves. So something I focus on all the time with what I do in life is that I'm a believer that most people fall short of their dreams, their goals, their visions, whatever, due to an inability to properly self-assess. Most people don't know who they are, what their strengths are, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And usually that starts off with an honest question of what do I actually believe? Like not necessarily how do I feel, or even necessarily what I think. What do I believe? What do I believe about marriage? What do I believe about parenting? What do I believe about my role, place, position in this world? What do I actually believe? And start from there. Because if you don't even know what you believe, and your beliefs are the base point to what you think, and that's what drives your actions and behavior. Right on. If you don't even have a base point of what you believe, you just out here. Like you're just out here. You're out here in these streets. And you just reacting. Right so on. I think that when you're having a conversation about, say we're even removed, we had a couple of incidents, some arguments, some problems, whatever. Let's just start. What do you believe about this? Because we may have two completely different ways that we're viewing this whole situation. Like some people, what's your favorite part of the day? Sunrise, some is sunset. Like we could look at the day completely differently. That's real talk. So let's start with what you believe. Now, are those are those synced up? And if not, let's get to a common ground. Now, what do you think about these things? All right, let's talk about that. Now, we ain't even gotten the feelings yet. We ain't talking nothing. We just talking about what you believe and what you think. Now, what did you do with what you thought? Let's start talking about these behaviors. All right, now we'll address feelings on the back end. But let's actually get some base rooted stuff to start with. And then we have to get past the whose pain is greater.
I agree with that.
Because if we keep coming to the table on, I need you to know that I hurt more than you, and because of that, we can't never be square because you hurt me at 70 and I hurt you at 50. Like no. But you did.
That's true.
But you did.
That's true.
Duly noted. But can we now? You need to like if we can't get past whose pain is greater, then that's gonna make it real difficult to move forward and build.
That's real talk. I agree with that. I think for me, and I always had to make an I statement.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship I was in for 15 years, this person came from such a different background, and I looked at the men in his family and the women, and I loved the way the men moved. And you could be in love with something and then get into the relationship and realize I ain't even really equipped to be in this relationship because I come from some stuff where you argue all the time, or you know what I mean, like you, or I didn't watch a person argue, so I feel like if she had just stood up for herself, and then the person, because they have, one time I think I made the statement of, I said something, then I said, does that affect your manhood? Because I will always hear, particularly black men talking about their manhood and how people were destroying their manhood, and the person that I was with for 15 years looked at me and said, I had a mother and a father. I am so balanced. I am a man with or without you.
Yeah.
Never once put that on me. Well, I've always seen men put that on women. Always. You destroy my ability to be a man. I'm like, damn, that's powerful. I didn't even know I had that kind of power. Yeah. But then I was with somebody. I was like, I'm very well balanced. I had a mother and a father. They love me. Where did this come from?
Yeah, see, in those cases where, that's beautiful, to be in that type of setting and relationship. I think for some, because I've heard that phrase too, some of it's due to a poor articulation. That sometimes somebody is addressing what they believe are roles associated with manhood.
All right.
Not necessarily the presence of being a man or resting in their manhood, but this is when you go into what do you believe about manhood? What is that list that you have in your brain? Because in your thing, it may be, my manhood is predicated on being able to pay all the bills. Okay, well, you acting a fool at my job, and I might get fired. You are impeding my ability to facilitate what I deem manhood is.
Right on.
So you stopping me from being a man. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
so
some of it is just verbiage. I think that we don't stress emotional awareness or emotional IQ, especially with our young boys. That we're given 4 crayons that we're supposed to paint the world with.
You say 4 crayons?
4 crayons. Like as women, y'all get the 160 pack with the little sharpener, boy. Y'all get colors like raw umber and mauve and lavender. We giving like black, blue, green, and yellow. Make it do what it do. You know what I'm saying? Paint the world with this. And so we don't get nuance. And we don't get like a high emotional IQ. We can sit there and say, I'm not angry. I'm frustrated. Big difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't ever hear no grown man, how you feeling today? I'm a little melancholy. You don't get that as a man. Woman, you can sit there and be, I don't know, I'm just feeling a little, I don't feel pretty. There's no equivalent to that for a man. Let a man sit around, I don't know, I don't feel sexy today. Like, that's like, you would look at a dude sideways. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get 4 crayons to paint the world. So sometimes it's just an articulation. So I know what you're saying about, I've heard dudes say that, somebody's standing in the way. But there's a percentage of that which is, it's not literal. You know what I'm saying? That's why I would say, because I would start with, what do you believe manhood is? And then what are you talking about? Because your definition of manhood may not be theirs.
If he got 4 crowns, he may not even know what that means.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about talking about of making that important. Like, I don't think that we don't stress that stuff enough. Right. We tell people when they try to tell us what's going on with them, we tell them to shut up. Stop all that crying. Quit making all that noise. You know what I'm saying? Like, we tell them, I want to hear that. I'm tired. I ain't got time for this. I don't want to deal with that. When somebody is actually trying to get more crayons to explain and express what's going on with them, we shut them down, especially boys. You acting like a little girl. You acting like a little, right now. You know what I'm saying? Like all this feelings and mess. Like, we don't tap into that. And then you get a bunch of frustrated men who can't express themselves, who are using behavior to facilitate things that they're feeling because they don't know how to express them verbally.
Right on. I agree with that. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at these questions.
Oh,
so
folks out here talking.
Yeah.
See what the people got to say.
Okay, no, but just say good morning, hello. You get a lot of thumbs up, a lot of hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, I did think I spelled this person's name wrong. Sorry, Shelly. So anyway, so reparations. Let's jump to something real quick.
Okay.
Oh, before we get to the reparations thing, what do you think that about the only 2 black candidates we had in the presidential race are now out? And did that mean anything?
Not to me. Not to me.
Why not to you?
So the whole thing of
I'm just being silly.
Let me lean in a little bit. Because they didn't speak to me.
Oh, okay. Because so the article, I think it's since I just seen it this morning.
Yeah.
It says, why didn't Cory Booker and Kamala Harris resonate with black people? That was the whole article.
So I can't speak to us as a whole.
I get that.
I'm
prefacing
that.
I thought about the article.
I'm prefacing that. I have never heard either one of them say anything that made me think I would hang out with them personally. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, I have never heard them say anything that was like, we're on the same page about this. Like, this is, like, they just, like, when I say you don't speak, not for me, you don't speak to me. Like, I'm not hearing any rhetoric come out of your mouth that makes me think that we are in alignment. So just because we closer in skin tone, and contrary to me being a little on the light side, both my parents are black.
Yeah. And they were very much on the light side.
Yeah, so I'm like, we don't, just because you, what is it? Just because are you skin folks,
ain't
your
kin folks.
And I don't even look at that negatively. I got cousins that I share blood with that we ain't on the same page for things. It don't mean we any less family. It just means that we got different views.
Right on.
So the fact that these are 2 individuals that we're close in hue don't mean we close in view. So, so to me, them falling out is no different than anybody else bailing out. Like anybody else who decided they don't want to keep running. You know, it don't make me no never mind.
Well, that's real talk. I just wonder. See, I think sometimes people just assume because we have the same skin tone that we're having the same experience. Yeah. And I get that all the time. Like, oh, no, we didn't do that at my house. Like I have to almost say that. Not trying to be funny. That's not what I came up with.
So a good example. So Barack. So when Obama could give a speech, he's an amazing orator.
Yes.
And so I could see myself talking to Barack for his orator skills. Like this is somebody who I would sit up under and learn how to speak. Or delivery and tone is somebody, that I could see, like when I say to me, like the way that we deliver stuff is I can see you know what I'm saying? Like I could see myself having a conversation with him about nothing political. I don't get that from Cory. I didn't get that from Kamala. Like I said, I don't think I'd be friends with. If we was neighbors, they'd be like Stanley next door, like, hey, stay off my grass. Like I don't think that we would be. If you know me, I jump around with analogies and phrases and stuff. So I don't think
that's real talk.
So that's why I say I don't think they don't speak to me. But I'm weird though. Like, and I say that because I know a lot of us if they black, I'm black, I'm voting. Or you supposed to support them because they black. Or there's supposed to be some kindred connection because we have the same complexion. I don't have those views. I don't have those ideologies. Like I look at who you are.
That's real talk. That's real talk.
I
do a little both. I ain't gonna lie. Because I didn't get this far by people just looking at me for my skill. There were people who gave me a chance because I was a black woman and they were a black woman. And I learned hella skills, but then after I acquired the skills, I was like, me and this person really have nothing in common. Except for the mission we were on.
Yeah.
But if that person hadn't given me a chance, then I probably wouldn't have got some of the skill sets that they had given me. So that's what I mean when I say that. But I get you.
Well, my thing is, I take that back because I'm being honest. I may hear you out faster. You know what I'm saying? There's people.
If some bullshit, I'm done.
Yeah, like so here's the thing. I may give you a break because we the same color, but I will cut you just as quick.
Me too.
So that I don't distinguish we're talking professionally.
No, I get that. I get that. I do think this is my personal opinion. Because somebody asked me the question. I guess I should be asking you this question because an elder asked me this. He said, "Why are we so hard on black people?" And then when Camilla dropped out, people were saying, because I was like, "Good, bye," because I was never a supporter of her, not on front. Because to me, she represents bourgeoisie Negroes who think they got the answer for all the rest of the people. Like when I don't see grassroots people in your camp, I don't really want to fuck with you because I feel like you can't help us all if you don't know us all. You can't be for all the people when you only have a select group that you rolling with. Yeah. So that don't work for me. But the person asked me, why are we so hard on each other? Why were we so hard on Kamala? And I think some of us just ignore the ass. So how is that hard? But I mean,
yeah, I know
Cory
more
Booker,
people.
I know him. I mean, I know of him because I lived in Newark.
Okay, so, well, I know more people. I would say are probably more dismissive than disrespectful.
Okay, I'll take that.
So I think the more that I've heard, I've never necessarily heard negative things about them. It's just really just, I ain't really messing with them like that. Like just like they just ain't really checking for them. And so what that would say to me is, if you're Cory and you've got and Kamala, if you're career politicians, that you've got enough years in the game, and you haven't figured out how to speak to your own people yet, that means you ain't trying. That means you showed up now because you're trying to run for president. That means you weren't so overly involved during the course of your career, because that's not whose backs you made your way up off of. That means the circles that you ran in are the circles you've been running in.
Right on.
So now you need these people. You need this wider margin of folks that you're looking and trying to speak to in different economic state areas and class levels and all of that. Now you coming to talk. That's no different to me than the white politician who only comes around election year.
You better say
so
that.
The same reason,
church.
Yeah, so the same reason why I don't care when they drop out is the same reason why I didn't care that they dropped out.
I get you. Got voted off the island. Sister Shelly was saying they leave us out of politics. She says, talking about Cory Booker, but he didn't do much for us because he's mingled in the LGBT community rights and civil rights. And that's what she basically saying. She's agreeing with that. I lived in Newark, so and I spent a lot of time in Newark. And I think when you look at people's track record, Newark is the largest city in Jersey. A lot of black folks in Newark, even though they have like the neck, which is where the Portuguese are. They stuff could be open they could be open all night in the neck area because you ain't going in the Portuguese neighborhood doing shit because you would get handled. That's what I mean. Yeah. So people come to them and say, "What can we do for you to get your vote?" That's how powerful they are in Jersey. But I also know too. You look at his record with black people ain't been good, and you look at Kamala's ain't been good.
That's what I'm saying.
And so just because you black don't mean. I think what pisses me off is when people shit on us and then they'll come right back to us and be like, "You voting for me, right?" And you like, do you know you just shitted on me?
I have more respect for somebody who came up and is like, you know what about the black vote? What about him? If that's how you became councilman, that's how you became senator, that's how you became mayor, that's how you became governor. If you was like, what about black folks? What about him? Now you running for president. Keep that same energy. I got more respect for that. At least you being you.
Yeah.
And we know where we are. We know where we stand.
Agree.
Then what that says to me is that if I ever need to come to you for something, it need to be, I understand how this works. You need some money. You need support. What can I have to leverage? This is not about a friendship. This is not about a kinship. This is not about nothing else other than a business transaction.
I agree.
But when you come around acting like we family, we the people, I'm of the community, and then we get you in, and that's never what it was. So then when we come to you with the same energy you came to us, come on, bruh. Come on,
sis. You think that happened with Obama?
No, because
what
he
wasn't.
With
Obama?
Because Obama was never.
He did eat chicken and everything with it.
He did the day before he campaigned and the day after. Obama. Here's the thing about him. My thing about Barack Obama. I never heard him running on the black ticket. We put him on.
I agree. I ain't gonna lie. I voted for Obama twice because of Michelle. That's my truth.
But I'm saying he wasn't riding on that. I'm here for my people.
But he did go to a lot of black events. He did get
disrespecting black men at the graduations.
He did.
What was he at Morehouse where he was telling all the things that black men need to do better? You're talking to a graduating class of advanced degrees from like Morehouse.
Wait a minute. He can't tell y'all that.
That's not the group we talking to. That's not the group we talking to. You talk to the graduating class of a prestigious university going out into the world who whatever odds they fought to get to this point. Make sure you're not pull your pants up and this, that, whatever. This ain't the group.
It is the group because they're still mingled in the other group. See, I think we think college means you're going to be a certain way.
No, but I'm saying.
But I think he needs to hear that.
That's not the time for a berating conversation.
That's not berating. He's giving information.
Really? Word. That's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do.
I was trying to be. I was trying. What's that guy name that had the show? He smoked a cigarette. They be sitting like this. White dude, old dude.
Charlie Rose.
No, the other one. The other one. He has glasses. Sometimes you
Larry King.
Larry King, because he would asking the question hella like, you'd be like Larry. No, I get you. So you wait a minute. So you Obama did that?
Yeah. But my point is that
intention wasn't.
He wasn't. My thing is, I mean, and I get it. You should say that message should be for everybody. I get it. But there's time and places. But I don't remember Barack Obama campaigning under the black umbrella.
Well,
I'm not saying he didn't. I'm saying I don't remember.
Depends, because I know some people who worked in his camp.
Okay.
Who, when he went to speak at the Democratic Party, they gave him a little ass room, and because of black folks and they love for him, basically had to switch him to bigger ass rooms.
Okay.
Where Hillary, who has hot sauce in a purse and love black people,
that to me is trying to take care of the black.
That folks. She kind of was like, I don't know. I think Obama used with a lot of black people. They use the black heart when necessary.
See, I think we put the cape around it.
I think it's both, because he didn't turn the cape down.
But he took it. He took the cape.
That means he's participating.
I don't think he didn't. I said he didn't campaign under.
And if I hadn't seen Michelle, he would have got. I know people who donate their very last to this man. Like if it was going back to Africa on a boat trip. Like seriously.
But what I'm saying, when you campaign under, like if he'd have came in and said, "I'm doing this for black people. I'm coming to these areas with a black agenda." That to me is when you campaigning under.
I get that
for us. That wasn't the case. And at no point in time did I ever remember hearing him singling out black people for some policy.
Well, he did single it out when he got called out by his minister. Then he had to go do this whole speech on race. He did. This is the stuff he did. I felt with black people. With black folks, you just give us lip service. You just have to give us.
Well, he got called out because he wasn't saying nothing about black folks. There was the Reverend
Jeremiah Wright. That was his minister.
Yeah, he was like, "You ain't doing this for folks."
That's real talk. Or when Skip got arrested at his own house, he had a beard with the white people and skipped over all the historical reference to why this man felt the need to stop this man from breaking in his own goddamn house.
Yeah.
It was just all these little instances where he had to address white people.
Yeah.
Not us.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but because of us, he had to address them, because it's like, oh, this don't look right. Or when Trayvon Martin got killed, he was just like, this could have been my son, but what are you gonna do about it?
Nothing. Was it Troy Davis got killed on his watch? That dude who got executed down, was it Florida or Georgia, where he was a career criminal and he was arrested and convicted for shooting I think it was the off-duty police officer. Like, now earlier that day, he got involved in a shooting. Like some car pulled up, shoot at him, he shot back at this car.
Right.
Later that day, the gun that he was shooting that ended up killing a police officer, he said that he threw the gun away after the first shooting that day. Somebody else confessed to that shooting. They re-interviewed the people who was involved, who eyewitnessed. Half of them recanted their story. This dude was still on death row. He was sitting there and he was like, "Look, they're about to execute him. You got somebody else confessed. You got the eyewitnesses going back on their story. You got all these question marks. Ain't nobody saying let him out. They're just saying hold off on killing him. They still executed him. Like, I mean, this was on Obama's watch. So, I mean, he had an opportunity. I don't say let the dude out because he was a criminal and he may not have done that, but he did shoot at somebody earlier that day.
I get that.
But there's things, but Obama, they were protesting pretty deep. He didn't even mention it. Like, I'm saying, like, there's just things that to me, like I said, there's things that I could talk to Obama about, like, just in life. But once again, like, I just think we put too much. And I think this is where we go to the original conversation of representation, is that we see somebody in a certain position and we take all these feelings, number one, the inadequacies that we have, misrepresentation in our personal life and space, all the times we felt like we didn't get our just due, and we take all that and we put it on them. And then we think about all our possibilities, all the amazing things we can accomplish, all the stuff, and we put that on them. And then we have all these ideas of what we would do if we were in their position, and we put that on them.
I agree.
And none of those things have to do with the individual that we put them on. That person is completely oblivious to all that energy, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, all that we have hoisted upon them, and they didn't promise none of that.
So now, who do you think for president? Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders? Because it looked like it may be coming down to those three.
it's gonna be Trump like Drake. He running it back to back. Trump running it back to back.
I think that
Trump's gonna run it back to back, and after about 18 months in, Pence is gonna take over. We go ahead and we're gonna flag this show. But when you post this up, flag this episode, and say that Jermaine's prediction. Trump's gonna run it.
December 10th, 2019.
Trump's gonna run it back to back, and about 18 months in, they're gonna say it's a health complication or some kind of problem, and Pence is gonna take over as president, and then that's when the real BS gonna start.
But you know, some people said we can't survive a Trump presidency. Aren't we surviving?
A lot of folks better than during the Obama administration. Let's keep it all the way
I
a
thought
buck.
the man was a monster.
Let's keep it all the way a buck.
Okay.
Whose life is worse in 2019 than 2016? I'm saying, all y'all out there in TV land, all y'all out there in Facebook land, whose life is worse in 2019 versus 2016, 2014, 2013, based upon the political climate of this country? Bueller? Anyone? Whose?
Oh, I guess they're having some problems with immigration, but then I heard Obama deported a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Under his watch. So
look, if we're having a conversation, about Mexicans, valid point.
But he ain't even deported a lot of them. He's deported a lot of Africans.
No, but I'm saying if we're talking about Mexican,
yeah.
If you could take Mexicans could sit there and say, I'm having a couple with ICE raiding, the faulty college they did up in Michigan, the ICE raids. I've known some friends who got picked up. Like Mexicans, not even just Mexicans, Hispanics, Latinos can sit there and say, I'm having a different American experience in 2019 than I was in 2016.
I get that.
What black folks? Who?
I just felt like that's a part of paying dues in America. That's what they did to our ancestors.
But I'm saying, so for us, when we say that this whole Trump thing, Trump ain't think about us.
I always say that. We're probably the safest group. I'm not talking because we done been into so much bullshit.
Here's the gift of the curse. We are not in the crosshairs for any of the benefits that are going to be bestowed to any of the Americans, but for the first time in a long time, they're looking for folks other than us. They're still worrying about Muslims coming in. They're looking for Latinos everywhere at the Home Depot. They're looking the Me Too. They're looking for the sexual harassment. For once, we is like, now you can't just completely relax, but it's almost like, security guards on break. Like this is.
So hold on, Sister Sally is saying you just spoke about Obama's silence, but under Trump, look at all the deaths in the hands of the police. Our lives are not better. But I think since you got to do some work, how long has this man been in office? And how long police been killing black folks? Because I could take you all the way back to the 1930s, but that's a whole other story.
All that Philando Castile, all that Sterling, Alton Sterling, all that stuff was on Obama's watch.
Yeah, it wasn't under Trump.
Yeah, so
I know people want to, just.
I'm not saying
I didn't vote for Trump either, so I'm not big.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's better under Trump. But I'm just saying what's the difference.
Yeah, but here's my thing. He didn't appear to be like he was some kind of savior either, not for us.
Yeah.
See, I like the people to tell me who they are. I don't like wolves in sheep's clothing. I don't.
Yeah.
And I felt like Obama did a whole bunch of stuff we ain't looking at because he a black man and we don't do accountability. We just rather put that shit on other people. We be so quick to be mad at Donald Trump, but not mad at ourselves.
Yeah. So I mean, to me,
that's just how I feel. And I hear you, but I just
when you ask who. I'm not doing anything right now to where it make a difference. Like for where I'm working, for the stuff that I'm trying to do and the stuff that I'm trying to cover at this stage of my life, who's sitting in office in the White House is not really the difference maker. And if I was to sit there and say that my life is or isn't what I want it to be because of who's sitting in the White House, I really need to slap myself.
That's real talk. I agree with that.
The reality of it is, if I'm saying my pockets ain't straight, if I'm looking at the situation, my relationship with my parents and my siblings and my community or whatever, if I'm holding that on who's sitting in the White House, right. I am failing.
Right on.
I'm losing, and that's not a mentality that I subscribe to.
Shelly said it's more prevalent under Donald Trump. I think it's more prevalent because we have video cameras. That's why I think it's more
technology
prevalent.
is advanced.
Technology is advanced, but I think if you go back in history, because some of us, I think history is the playbook for me. Because we'll be talking about stuff like this right now, but if you go back in history, you will see these same traits.
Yeah.
If you ever been in the South, and maybe you are in the South, and you look at your history, tell me when the police have ever been friendly for black people.
Yeah,
This
remember,
was after they were patty rollers.
if you look at all the people who were involved in this, they were on the force during the Obama. These
Yes,
dudes
they
are
were.
not all in their first year.
That's real talk.
Like all these police officers are not first-year officers.
What do you mean Obama is still half black? What does that mean?
What?
She said Obama is still half black, but what does that mean? That don't mean nothing to me. I'm not trying to be funny.
I mean, his daddy black.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'm not trying to be funny, but I think we throw that in. Again, it's like that monkey wrench, something to be working and somebody.
Well, like I said, the representation part, if you look at it, like I said, to me, I'm not in politics. I don't have political aspirations. The stuff that I'm doing, politics do not have a direct correlation to. Not really.
Right.
Outside of my, zoning or, the Sacramento area. So who's president has not really changed my life like that.
She's saying, please forgive that half. She says, so his intelligence wasn't 100% for us. Yeah, it wasn't 100% for us. I don't think none of them are. I think if you had a 100% black person in there, it still wouldn't be for us.
Well, I think
because America's a corporation.
And I go back to your original point. We're too much. This is a competitive relationship, and we've got too much.
Oh, allegiance. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
We got too much. We're not running strong enough as a unit together to make the moves that we need to make. Because people got to understand, LBGT, they've only been in the game about 20 years.
But they're also ran by white men, and white men have power.
But what I'm saying is like all our differences from these different groups, link up and run, put a new jacket on, and we're going to run under this team. New. And leaps and bounds. Now, granted, some of that is some pre-existing privileges and some pre-existing allegiances, but they got a unit together, whatever. We're not moving like that. So I think if what was it, FDR, who was president, who during the civil rights era stuff, and he was saying, I agree with everything that y'all are asking for. I agree that everything it is that y'all want. Now make me do it. Like, you got to put me in a position that I have to say, it's Lincoln. If saving, preserving the Union means freeing half the slaves, I'll free half of them. If it means freeing all of them, I'll free all of them. But I'll do whatever it takes to preserve the Union.
I agree.
You got to make them do it. We have to be in a position to where we have enough together, enough resources working in the same direction with the same goal that it forces the hand to do what's best for the big picture. We are not doing that.
But I also think, and ditto, I agree, Jermaine, but I also think, let's just be honest, white men have power.
Yes.
So the fact that the LGBTQ, whatever letters they're going to add on, are so powerful is because white men, and I've heard people who are black and queer and gay, they talk about white privilege even inside of that community.
Yeah,
and we know when white people are uncomfortable with something, goddamn, they'll do something.
Well, you got to remember too that the basis of this country, written in dang near how the Constitution is written, is that there's a first place and a last place that was written in. That white men of privilege were first, and that we were last. That
don't even see them as human beings.
But that's what I'm saying. So as a scale, they are guaranteed penthouse, we guaranteed basement. They don't care on this top 10, they don't care what 2 through 9 does. So 2 through 9, if it's Latinos, Asians, LBGT, Middle Eastern, Jewish, they don't care who has 2 through 9 moves. Our goal is we keep having our issue with 1. Damn it, let's move to 8. Let's get on a mission to be 6. Let's start campaigning for 5. Let's just we keep talking about what's going on with these people over here. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, how do I get from 9 to 8?
It's advancing.
How do I get from 8 to 7?
Right on.
How do I get to 7 to 6? I may never be 1 or 2. Let me break top 5. There's privileges in top 5. There's privileges in top 3. Like I'm saying, so instead of being so hung up on how can we overthrow the government and completely change this,
but you know you ain't gonna never do.
Let's do some seat changing. We've been sitting in the same seat in the corner for too long. Let's just see what it looks like on the left side of the room.
And some of us was at 5 and wanted to go sit in the back of the bus because we thought that was cooler.
Yeah. See, that's the difference. That was the difference. See, we was moving the needle.
Yes, we was.
And that's when things had to start getting shifted and moved. Oh, okay. Because we boycotted for over a year and the nation lost millions of dollars. All right, well, it's just it's them church folks down south. Oh, no, wait a minute. We got these Midwestern dudes. We got these dudes in Chicago coming up. Now wait a minute, we got these organizations in New York and Pennsylvania. Wait a minute, we got these boys in the Bay Area in California. Wait a minute, we got these groups sprung up in LA down in California. All right, now we got this faction that's starting to show up near Oklahoma. God damn it. Like just
Right. That's real talk though.
like, okay, now we got to do something.
Right
Because
on.
this is becoming a problem. So let's give them something. Let's start making. So now we have to go back to policy change because we have to. Like it's not because we want to, but if we leave things, what they say that the civil rights era of the '60s was the greatest form of domestic terrorism that the United States has ever seen on U.S. soil.
Wow.
They looked at the Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers, the
Yep.
church groups, the gangs that were coming out of Southern California. All those. They said America was against the ropes. They said this is the greatest form of domestic terrorism on
how
U.S.
did they
soil,
break that?
and we will never be in this position again.
But how did they break that? Did they just give everybody jobs?
Nah, first off, let's take off these figureheads, because that's when they went on a sniping mission.
Right on. Okay.
And then with a lack of organization, so you go to those factions.
Cut off the head, the snake dies.
Yeah, but you go to those other organizations, those terrorist cells. There is no head.
Uh-huh.
As soon as I'm just the guy who's sitting here. If you take me out, Abdul Muhammad Raouf Cesar is next in line, and he knows
Real
the
talk.
playbook.
That's real talk. That's real talk.
That's how they got Gaddafi. Got him, got his son, got everybody who thought could potentially be a problem,
That's real talk.
and got him out the way. You know, Gaddafi was on Obama's watch.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? We don't even go down that road. I know we
Uh-oh.
on time.
No,
on
but
the
you
show.
know, no, that's real talk. That's a
You
whole
know.
that's
Yeah.
something to be looked at.
Yeah.
Real quick, with the traditional roles, I'm just going to close the door. I'm about to ask you this.
Okay.
What did you think about T.I. going to the doctor's visit with his daughter?
So mixed views, because I did hear his explanation.
Okay.
And so his explanation was, I wasn't literally sitting there.
Right.
You know, I like, hey, show me the paperwork. Like he said,
Out there looking in them.
yeah, he said I drove her to the appointments. You know, like his explanation was, it made a little more sense than the tabloid stuff that I was reading.
But do you think people who don't have relationships with their dad, sometimes it comes from a lot of emotion? Because I found that people who have healthy relationship with their dad weren't as critical. They were trying to look for more information. Where people who don't have healthy relationships with men or with their father or with their child's father, it was very emotional driven. Like, he shouldn't do that. But as a parent, aren't parents supposed to know what the fuck going on with their kids?
Yeah, I think like I've heard parents are like they just ransack their kids' room like checking for contraband and Folsom. Kids,
They need to be checking for
like
contraband
just
and
kids
Folsom.
come home, the bed's mattress has been flipped over, drawers been
Yeah.
emptied out, closet, whatever. It's my room. It ain't your room. I own all this.
Like
and
somebody
they just
said too,
and
it's
they
my
just
house.
yeah, and your name ain't on nothing. And they just go through there and check just because. Other people, you got to give kids their space. They got to feel like their room's a safe place. Like I just think your wiring is what it is. Like I think
You gotta have safe space.
I think we have different ways.
We get ridiculous as hell.
I think I'm old enough that I remember growing up like that didn't. But then again, I'm not a girl, and I think that makes a difference.
But I think we don't have a lot of guidelines to how fathers and daughters could be in a relationship.
But it would be different to me if he was a single parent. So to me, her mama was right there.
But why can't he go as a dad?
No, but I'm saying if the narrative is I want to make sure my baby ain't out here doing nothing, send her to the doctor. Hey man, check. Make sure that seal's still intact. Like if that's the case, that's one thing. He said I'll take my daughter to get annual checkups with her mama right there. Her mama go in the room and they talk and then this, that, whatever.
So they didn't tell you all that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was his take. Like that's what I'm saying. Moving past the clickbait, the headline. Like it made more sense when he's just like, no, I'm not just checking for that. You know, this was a thing that her checkups, and then it's not like she went solely for a hymen check.
Right.
It was it was when
things.
she went, and so to me it was like, all right. Because here's the deal, though. If she come up pregnant at 15, he's a horrible father.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I'm trying to get
He
at.
got no more control over her body if she's pregnant at 15 than if he's doing these checks. But that's more so to make him feel better.
Right.
But, I mean, like I said, I don't know. I think that there's it's closer, I think, maybe for women than men. Like, there's no real, like, I don't believe that men and women are the same. And
I don't think we're the same either.
So I think so I don't ever try to sit there and say I know what that would feel like or how invasive that might be for that to even be a discussion. So because with dudes, we're all external. Like even the presence of sex. That's why they always talk about how come men can sleep with women like this and women can't sleep with men. There's a difference. I said in the course of my life, I've probably been in thousands of people's homes. I would never let 1,000 people in my house. It's just fundamentally a difference. And so,
I agree.
Back to them gender roles, where you all start throwing shoes at me when you see me somewhere in public. But so I think that there's a different. I think it's personal different. But the fact that he's like her mama was there. And her mama co-signed this too, and don't nobody give her heat, because it's not like this is T.I. the dictator who said this is what it's going to be. Her mama was right there at the appointment. You know what I'm saying? Like, and ain't nobody calling her a controlling mama.
Well, that's that double standard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I agree.
So call them parents. Call them controlling parents.
But I also think because our relationship is just so unhealthy. And for some people, I don't say a lot, but for some people, when it comes to fathers and their daughters and father and their children, we can never see this straight no way, because we have our own perception of men are this, men should do this, but the minute some shit jump off, y'all be like, that's because she ain't had no daddy, and it's like
exactly. And then if he is there, he ain't ish.
Yeah. So
no,
that's real talk.
Yeah, so
I put up a link to the Godcast because I listen to it, even though Lord Jamal sometimes Lord Jamar. Is it Jamar?
Jamar.
Okay, man. So gets on my nerves sometimes. And sometimes he just
he
reminds me of one of my homeboys from Brooklyn. So I'll be like, he has to, But Raw Digger did a piece on that yesterday as a mother. So here's a black woman talking about that. I guess they tried to go in on her on Twitter, but she stood her ground because she was like, there's more than just checking to see if it's broken or not. It's, they have her family have a history of fibroids and some other stuff.
Yeah.
It's more than just that. But I think in our literal minds, we have our own perception of what we think of things, because a lot of us are in fucking hideous places in our mind.
Yeah.
So we think everybody else is in that same hideous place.
That's why I always like check, what do you believe?
Yeah.
What do you believe about men? What do you believe about women? What do you believe about a father and his role? What do you believe about a mother and hers? What?
I had to stop watching the paternity court. I'll tell you why. No, because I have this high esteem when it comes to women, because I've been around a lot of women who are just, and my mom and just aunties and just bombs. So, integrity. I've never met so many women who lie in their damn life, and so I tell them to watch a paternity court. Like, if it say, hey, it could possibly another father, another person's father. No.
I know where I've been. Yeah. I know who I've been with.
And I was just like, y'all, come on. Because I think so much of women, or black women in particular. Yeah. But damn, girl.
I grew up on Jerry Springer. So
I did too. I used to just watch it for they stopped me waiting for the show. They started fighting even before he got
yeah.
I was like, okay, y'all doing too much.
I grew up on Jerry Springer.
So that's all. I'm just saying, so again, like, how you have this certain perception, but it makes me challenge even my notion of how I see women. And can women lie? Hell yes. I just didn't grow up with it, with them lying like that. I mean, just like, damn, like, person look you right in the face and be like, I haven't been with nobody else. It's just been him. And I'm like, girl, just be honest and be like, every now and then you'll get a situation like, yeah, I was messing with a lot of people. So
okay, so tie that all the way back to the original question about the article.
Yeah.
Are there black women out there ruining black boys before the world gets a chance to? Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
You can't sit there and say I could watch Jerry Springer, I could watch and of course that's reality TV, and that's stuff that's got spin. That's not necessarily all true, but these people do exist.
I agree.
Let's not act like they're the dodo bird or pterodactyl, where they're not in existence in society today.
Sometimes I feel like at women we say we're strong, when shit is going good, but when shit is bad, it's like I'm just so weak, and it's like, look, y'all, shit. I know there's a balance, but
that's that 160 crayons. You can do that. But that's that 160 crayons that at 9 a.m. you cannot be feeling yourself and not being 100%. But at 9:15, when a kid come to you with the sniffles talking about, mommy, I don't feel good, you boss up and take care of the kid, to be at work by 10:30 to deal with a bunch of stuff and some people that you are just a half a heartbeat away from going upside their head, to just let me get to lunch so I can get a chance to decompress. At lunch, you look like you about to flatline, but you back at 1:30 with the cape flowing in the wind to get to 3 o'clock to be in some traffic thinking about these kids better not have my house messed up, in a furious rage, driving, white knuckling all the way to get home, to walk through the front door, to scrape like a drill sergeant general running through there. I need this clean, I need this, I need that. So all of a sudden you serving dinner while they're doing homework, and you're the most loving, clear, Huxtable individual, kissing them on the head, hugging them, rubbing the back of their neck, telling them everything's gonna be all right, to putting everybody to bed with a gentle bedtime story, to going into your room, cracking open your bottle of Stella, putting your feet up, and then looking like you living your best life. That's 160 crayons that y'all get every day. So for a woman to tell me that she goes through these different moods and mindsets, whatever, all right. But let's just be real about it happening.
I get that. Right on. I get that.
I'm saying.
No, that was good. I was about to say amen and pass that donation collection plate.
Some of the liars, some of the
Last things, I guess in another state they're going to give reparations in the form of money from the marijuana sales.
Yes, I just was fortunate for Black Friday, Sacramento weekend. I was the panel moderator for they had a segment on cannabis in the industry and the boom. And one of the people who was on the panel was talking about that there's programs that are really directed towards that, about giving, first off, black people who are directly or indirectly affected by the laws, the marijuana laws, like people who are either arrested or the family members of somebody arrested or something, about preferential choice when it comes to getting licensing.
Oh, they are gone, but go ahead.
Well, no, but I'm saying this is the program's already in existence, so they're already doing this. And so as a form,
in Sacramento,
the core program, I believe it's called.
Yeah, but all the licenses are gone. But
yes, but I'm saying, they were in existence when it had, that's their camp. Well, because they're the what was it, the Eastern European Sting thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So when there's going to be a reissuing.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
one of them had 5 licenses and he's supposed to have 1.
Yeah. So there was some y'all can look it up. There's some criminal back dealings that was involved with it. So there's going to be a reshuffling.
Okay.
So they're campaigning for when the reshuffling happens. Okay. And then not only here, but as this spreads, as this program to go nationwide, I guess is the goal. So when it happens everywhere, that using people who are because the disproportionate penalties and all that of people associated with weed.
That was a real economy for some people. It was the underground economy, but shit. I mean, how you gonna teach somebody how to have a business when they've been running this business?
Yeah. So I mean, you know, whatever. Like I'm not one of those. I mean, good. Like, I guess maybe my feelings don't really.
No. I just really like reparations. I was like, wow.
It's a start. I'm glad that the needle is moving in the conversation.
It's supposed to be going that way.
That not only the conversation, but the policy is moving. Because we've been talking about it forever. But to actually see some stuff being implemented and some policy and some programs, I'm happy to see that. That means we're moving in the right direction.
Me too. So as we wrap up, tell me what you got going on in the cooker. What's coming up next for you?
So my birthday. So I'm getting ready to bounce out. So
when's your birthday?
Sunday.
Oh wow! So you're not doing the whole month long?
Yeah. So it's called Mardi Gras. It's the festival of life.
Mardi Gras?
Yeah, as in Jermaine and then Mardi Gras.
I like that. Mardi Gras, I like that.
Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras is going to be in Colombia this year. So I'm literally 24 hours from now, I'll be peacing out to Estados Unidos. So I'm leaving. So I'll be in Colombia. So then I'll be back. And then we're getting ready for the Manhood Mentoring Conference in January.
How long you gonna be gone for?
A little over a week. So I'll be in. So it's a twofer. So I'll be in Bogota, but right now they're protesting heavy. They're in week 3 of their protest. They almost had 500,000 people in the street Sunday, talking about their government stuff. So we'll be down. It's a work/kick it. So we'll be filming. Me and my camera guy will be down there filming, talking to people, kind of like on the ground. Because the news coverage here is horrible. Because the country owns everything. So the only time most of the information gets out is through people's social media who's there. So we're gonna go in there.
Social media.
Yeah, so we'll be there filming a bunch of stuff there, and then I'll be the turn up will be in Cartagena. So we're gonna fly over to Cartagena. That's the postcard stuff, the beaches and the suns and all that.
I love that though.
Then come back to Bogota, then come back home, and then close out the year with getting ready for the conference in January.
Right on. It's funny that you said I didn't even talk about that, but there's protests going on all over the globe where people are in the street. If you're talking about Haiti, if you're talking about. You talked about in Colombia. Yeah. There's somewhere else.
A lot of South America. A lot of South America right now.
Which I think is awesome. Closing question: why don't you think we ever do that here?
Well, you got to be committed. So an example of the protests in Bogota. This is week 3, and so they thought that rain didn't stop them. They thought that they sent in trucks, police. They were shooting tear gas at the crowd. One of the canister lids flipped off and it hit a 17-year-old student in the head. He ultimately died a couple of days later. They doubled down the next day and were all over the university and the city streets. Like if you see footage of the protests out there, it literally looks like ants swarming. Like it's just the streets are just packed with people. Wow. It's shut down like that, and they're not playing. Like it's not one of those things of like, okay, well, Like they showed the police, they imposed a curfew one night to get people off the roads. As soon as the sun came up, they was right back. They brought military, so they're right back. Like they just gotta something's gonna have to change because these folks are not tapping out. There has to be a certain degree of unified commitment. And one of the crazy things about Sunday is you had almost 500,000 people throughout the streets singing the same song in unison. Like you wouldn't even know it wasn't like angry, let's break stuff, let's riot. They were all with their flags and their banners and singing the same song with drums going and music playing. Like we are all one united group of people and we've got a problem with you. Like not like not all this in theory random stuff. Like no, we specifically got an issue with you. Got to go. Something got to happen. Something got to change. We are not letting up off this. And I think it's that degree of commitment we had in the 60s where everybody was like, nah, we ain't doing that. Till when? Till as long as it takes. As opposed to now, it's got to be, well, hey, I got to get home because I got work in the morning. Like,
yes, right.
Like,
you ain't lying though.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But thank you so much, Jermaine, for joining
Thank you. I got
today.
to sit in this chair, but I can't feel his shoes. Shout out to Barry.
Yeah, no, we miss you, Barry, but get turned up. Get refreshed.
We might pass in the airports on my way out.
Yeah, right on. So, y'all, I will see you all back tomorrow with Minister Imhotep and Papa Kabalon. Y'all have a great day. Peace, family.
Hey.